Finding your identity can be an overwhelming and strenuous process that certainly does not end in high school, but often begins there. Here to remind us how to find and be our truest selves, please welcome Senior Diego Selvas-Cano.
Who am I? Who am I? Who here hasn't asked themselves that question at least once in their lives? It is the ultimate question, right? The one everyone struggles with. But it's through that struggle that we mature to become who we are. The concept of identity, especially my identity, has been a struggle in the past. In 6th grade, we started standardized tests. I was in the situation most of us have been in, bubbling in my information, when I came across the race and ethnicity section. It was a culture shock to me. My race and ethnicity was never something I needed to identify. It was one of those unspoken things you never expected you needed to say out loud. And thinking about that confused me, because previously I didn't define myself as a specific American. I was just a person born in America, nothing more. My parents are not originally from this country. I'm the first person in my family to be born in the United States. I was born and raised in Washington State, while the rest of my family was a 6-hour plane ride away in Mexico City. I never really noticed the over 2,800-mile difference until I got older, and I started seeing my friends spend the weekend at their grandparents' house, something I wouldn't be able to do until Christmas. But how and why does someone's identity become affected by their extended family living in an entirely different country? A big part of someone's identity is developed by where they come from. And unfortunately, a big part of where I came from was 6 hours away by plane. I go to Mexico about once a year. When I do, I'm the American cousin or nephew coming for a visit. I never really connect the same. I speak differently. When I speak Spanish, I am told that I have an American accent. And I don't know many of the customs that are a part of the daily lives of my family. My being different doesn't mean they shut me out. But in reality, I can never fully be a part of their lives because of the physical limitation that I can't be in 2 places at once. Don't get me wrong. This doesn't mean that I don't like visiting my family. It is the best part of my year. Eating authentic food, brushing up on my Spanish, and catching up with my relatives gives me a special kind of joy. However, when I visit my family, it feels like a carnival. It's nice and fun for a while, but soon it will close up shop and you'll see them next year. In comparison, here in the United States, I'm not totally American. I'm Mexican. At most, I'm considered Mexican-American. Sure, I get to fill out that special section on the test that says, mark here if you're Latino. But what does that really mean to me? With my extended family, I'm American. With my friends and classmates, I'm Mexican. So I've always asked myself, how and where do I belong? How can I create a place for myself where I can be myself if I can't even define who I am? It makes me feel stuck, and it is not a nice feeling. I thought if I kept up this self-questioning, maybe I could figure out a way to define me and get rid of this feeling. Now, identity is tricky because it doesn't have a universal definition. Now, our religious self is not like our social self. And our social self is not who we see in the mirror when we are completely alone. So how can we define who we are if there are so many aspects to our personality? Finding your identity is a lifelong process. Each step you take is like adding a dot to a pointillism painting. The individual dots of color represents qualities, talents, and moments of your life. Eventually, when you add up enough of these dots, they start to form a picture. A beautiful illustration that takes a lot of hard work and dedication. So, I'm not here to tell you what your identity is. However, I can personally say that trying to find your identity can be a very lonely experience. I wanted to share 3 things that really helped me. The first, a great resource to help find our identity that we sometimes don't take advantage of, family and friends. People that are so close to us, we feel comfortable shedding our social impressions around them. People that can tell us things we didn't know or fully understand. A pair of fresh eyes is always a good idea. The second, an unfortunate side effect to us trying to determine our identities is division. As we try to identify ourselves, we reach out more toward people that are like us, making ourselves part of little sections. I see this a lot with race and ethnicity. In my group of friends, I have mostly white people. That doesn't bother me. And it doesn't bother them that I am Mexican. However, when I actively pursue my identity as being Mexican, it feels like a barrier starts to rise between us. Because they're not a part of that culture. So how can they understand my part of it? The greatest threat to us finding out who we truly are is creating an environment of indifference. Tolerance and listening to people of different backgrounds is important to avoid this. And the third is, at the end of the day, only you can figure out your identity from searching within yourself. You can't always ask other people who you are, because only you truly know. It is frustrating, but I constantly kept asking myself questions, and eventually, I just started figuring out more things about myself. It takes an enormous amount of patience. And for those of you who sometimes have trouble with that, I hear you. It is not one of my best skills. I don't know all the answers. I'm still trying to figure out a lot of things for myself. But you should know, you are not alone. You are not alone. Understand that no 2 humans are really identical in the journey to attempt to find their identity. But the important part is to try. Take these tips and make them your own. Embrace that trying to find your identity will take a lifetime. But if we all work hard enough, maybe we will get to know just a little bit more tomorrow than we did today. Thank you.